This is the 2024 Husqvarna Vitpilen 250, based heavily on the new KTM Duke 250. So it gets the same engine, the same suspension, same chassis, same brakes, but what helps it stand out is of course the signature Husqvarna styling. Minimalist, clean and distinctive. This one carries forward the design philosophy of the previous model, but with the intent of making it look bigger. And it definitely looks bigger with the bigger headlight, the bigger 13.5 litre tank and the wider seat. Changes which have also been designed to make the Vitpilen a little more practical. So much so that they have ditched the clip-ons and the minimalist rear section now gets this fender. So is this uncharacteristic function over form approach worth it? Let's go and find out. To be honest, I have to admit I wasn't as keen on getting on the Vitpilen 250 after riding the Vitpilen 401 and absolutely loving that engine. So I was kind of bummed that this one doesn't get the same engine. But already I can see this engine growing on me. Because the 250cc engine continues to shine on. This is in a slightly better state of tune compared to the older model. This one makes a little more power, 31 PS and 25 Nm of torque. And you can feel it, especially in the higher revs, that this one pulls a lot more strongly. An experience which is made even better thanks to the quick shifter and the blipper, which come as standard, which really enhance the riding experience. And as we already know, this engine loves to be revved, and you can flog it with reckless abandon, trusting the amazing braking performance that the new braking setup brings to the table, which we have loved on the Duke 250. And I feel it can be better still with stickier tires, because this one doesn't get the W-rated steel radials that the Duke 250 gets. So even though now, even in the corners, you can see that this one has all the makings of a really good corner cover. You cannot really push because the tires just don't inspire the same amount of confidence. But more than anything else, what's really standing out is the refinement, man. I mean, already we were impressed with the Duke 250 and how smooth it was in the higher revs, in the higher gears. And this one is smoother still. And that's saying something, considering that the old Vitpilen was not the smoothest. And that in turn has made it a lot better all-round motorcycle, a lot more practical. Yes, you will have to learn to really work the gearbox because the engine doesn't really have any low end, and it only gets going after 5500 RPM. But luckily the clutch is light, and as long as you can feather the clutch and keep the revs above 2500 RPM, this will pull cleanly in the city, even the third gear. And all of these things you can easily live with, looking at how big a stride Husqvarna has made with the Vitpilen when it comes to comfort. I know we all wanted the clip-ons, but this new handlebar makes the riding position that much more upright and comfortable. That combined with the lower 820mm seat means that even for me, who is 5'11", the rider's triangle is pretty much perfect and really comfortable. And still the 820mm seat is still quite manageable, even though you're not the tallest, because the motorcycle overall is still quite light and manageable at just 164 kgs. To supplement that, you also have really good suspension. In fact, you have a little more suspension travel at the front and the back compared to the previous model, which gives you the suppleness that you seek in terms of ride quality when you're riding over broken roads. And if all of these things are making you think, can I go touring on this? Well, there's more good news, because the tank now is, again, as I mentioned, 13.5 liters. So you have a little more range at your disposal. So you can expect a range of at least 250 to 260 kilometers, depending on how you abuse the throttle. And the cherry on the top, of course, is the fact that the new Vitpilen 250, despite all of these upgrades, is a solid 5,000 rupees cheaper than the previous model. So coming back to the function over form question, this pragmatic approach has undoubtedly yielded much better results, because let's face it, the Vitpilen still looks really lovely. In fact, they've done a much better job at hiding all the wires. And for those few who really miss the old design elements, you still have the option of removing the rear fender once the monsoons are over, and also invest in aftermarket clip-ons if you want the sportier look. But for everyone else, this is still a much better motorcycle overall, because it's so much more practical. And if it were my money, I would use the money that I'm saving with the cost reduction and invest in better tires to complete what I think is perhaps the best 250cc motorcycle on offer today.